guys, it's April and I garden down in southeast Nebraska, zone 6A, formerly 5B, but I like to think of myself as straddling the line between those two zones, so I mostly plant like I'm in zone 5, but if things hold the way they could, maybe someday I'll be planting like a zone 6. I don't know, but that is a totally different conversation. Today, I am going to be doing my first garden tour of the 2024 gardening season, and I'm really excited. I did just plant out all of the peppers and all of the tomatoes. I have a video up of me doing that if you want to go check that out. But I did a couple of other things after that, and I don't think I ever got a chance to show you the spring garden and how all of that was growing. So I'm just going to start the full garden growing tour season with this first garden tour. So let me show you. It's always interesting deciding where to start these garden tours at, but I'm just going to start you here with all of my extra plants. About a third of them are going to my brother, another third are going to my beautiful godchildren and their parents. And then I have no idea what I'm going to do with the rest of them. So this is the holding area for all of those plants. But if we walk up to the fire pit, you can see the start of this little area right here. This is my peach tree, at least one of my peach trees. These chives are going absolutely nuts. I've harvested from it several times now already, but they are ginormous. That and the strawberries that I planted around it as well are just crazy. So I'm trying some kind of like permaculture kind of concept here. So I have all these plants underneath this peach tree so that they can have some kind of symbiotic relationship with soil moisture and pollinators and things like that. So that's kind of what this area is right here. And then I did put up this A-frame because I have several volunteer squash all over the place, and these are some that I transplanted. I don't know for sure what type they are, so we're gonna find out. That's gonna be an adventure if they survive this transplant. They did not look good yesterday, but they have perked up for sure. So I might get some squash off of these plants. And this is the current cover crop on the test plot. And for those of you who don't know, this is about 100 square feet. I'm part of the local university study on soil health, and they have a whole bunch of us across the state that are doing different soil rejuvenation techniques, and they're seeing how that changes the soil over time. So it's a 3-year study. We are in year 2. So this is my second cover crop. When that about end of June completely grows out, we'll cut it down and we'll cover it over and let that compost in place. And I will plant, I'm thinking okra, but there are some corn seeds that they like us to plant here as well. So I'll be doing corn and okra. And then you can see both of my pots, these little opening areas into the fire pit. There are at least one tomato, some bunching onions, some cilantro, some basil, and I think over here we've got some chives right there. But otherwise, these are my dwarf tomato plants. And then the last cluster of pots, pretty much the same thing. We've got the bunching onions, some dwarf tomatoes. I think there's a basil back there. But this is my volunteer garlic and onions. So I had to remove all the soil from the old beds to get these new beds that I'm about to show you put in. And in the process of doing that, I found some of these guys were growing. So these are second year crop. So most of them are going to be trying to go to seed, which is fine. It's just, here's some extra free food. So I decided I would just see what happened with these guys. I guess we can start with the beds. Like I said, I have a video up of me planting all of these out. This first bed here, so these right here are all of my spicy peppers. I have mainly jalapenos, poblanos, one ají, and a stuffing scotch. And then I don't know what I'm going to do here. Some of those extra peppers might actually end up there. I don't know. I think I do want to do some vining squash in here, but we'll see. Here is my not spicy peppers. So the jalapenos, the habanadas, those kind of peppers. And as you can see, my cayenne sweetness actually already has some peppers on it. I planted it out that way. It started growing peppers while it was still potted up. I probably should remove those peppers, but it's my garden, so I'm not going to. We'll see how that affects the growth of that plant. Here, it's not much to look at, but I did plant out this whole 3x3 section with garbanzo beans. There's about 50 garbanzo plants. They are the black variety, which I'm super excited about. I'm hoping I actually get garbanzo beans this year. They are a long season plant, so fingers crossed. I've got all of my sweet peppers here. And I even have a few peppers already started. This is my large potato section. This is all of the blackberry potatoes. I had about 10 pounds of them that I just shoved into this section, and they are looking phenomenal. And I will let you know that the garden is still a little bit under construction because we've got some very, very messy walkways. The idea here is to, at some point, I'm hoping within the next month or so, get most of the sod removed, and then I'll just carry on my mulch section to all the way around the beds. So I have a clean walking path, and so that if any of the vining crops end up vining over the beds, they have additional root area that they can do. But for now, we're in a little bit of flux. For this first bed, I've got my onions here, and then a couple of tomato plants, as you can see. This one right here is one of my variegated tomato plants. So I'm excited to see that one grow. But up here, we've got the first of the herb beds. This is the orange thyme that I started with some lemon balm and stevia. And then if you go to the opposite side over here, I have lemon thyme, lemon sage, and some more bee balm. And the idea here is that eventually I'll have this really cool walkway concept up to this fountain area with all of this. But for now, I just have, I've got about 8 tomato plants in here. And what I didn't show in that planting video is I interplanted basil with a lot of them. So I've got a purple basil back there and a It's probably a Genovese basil right there. And then I had a whole bunch of marigolds that I planted randomly as well. And ooh, we have a tomato. That is an evil olive. So that might be my first tomato. There used to be a marigold right there, but something has eaten it. Right now, as weird as it sounds, I'm suspecting a cat because one of the neighborhood cats has been causing some interesting problems in my beds this year. And what I'm talking about is over here as well. You can see it's a little roughed up. Cat likes to dig in this bed because there's nothing in it yet. And there's also a squash, a volunteer squash, that I believe it ate as well. Why? I don't know, but they did. Right now I have 2 different kinds of jelly melons planted here. So this is just a standard jelly melon, and this is a rund, I believe, jelly melon. Never had a jelly melon before, but it is my weird and interesting plant of the year. This is my experiment. And of course, I've got some volunteer calendula right back there. Sorry, right back there and right back there. And this is a nasturtium I planted. On the other side of the herbs, let me get out of my own shadow. We have this bed that looks exactly like the one opposite of it. We've got some onions here with 4 different tomato plants, and of course some basil, and I did calendula here. This is the start of my carrots. So we've got quite a few of those coming up. And the eggplant. Not entirely sure what those are, but I'm kind of letting them grow. They're volunteers. We'll see what happens with them. But I did mention when I was planting out the eggplant that back one, that little one, was looking kind of rough. But I think it's bouncing back. Over here, right next to them, I planted out some dragon tongue bush beans. We'll see how those go. And then right next to them are my extra dwarf tomatoes, which is why they're in cages and not on string. And then right next to that, I have another section of dragon tongue bush beans, my extra sweet peppers, and then this is another small section of potatoes. These ones are the Magic Molly, and I only had about a pound of those, so I kind of put them in that section. See if I can not trip. Okay, so I've brought you over to the other side of the bed, which is a little safer since the walkway back there is just, it's a little rough right now. But here, we've got another section of 4 tomatoes and some onions. I have my paste tomatoes, my determinate paste tomatoes, and I interspersed all of them with basil and marigolds and some nasturtium. And then right here is the last concrete raised bed, which once again, we've got the onions, we've got 4 tomatoes, some basil, and a calendula in the back there. And this is my Star Wars section. Well, not technically Star Wars, but Starfighter section. And you can interpret that however you wish. So those are the concrete beds. I am going to take you over to the other side of the yard. so we can take a look at the deck. So over here, right next to the deck, I have a basil and stevia long pot. These are where all my extra stevia and basils went. The loofah, I will admit, they had a rough start, but I think they are starting to bounce back. I did put some calendula in front of it. Seem to have lost a few. This container right here has just been devastated by roly-polies. So I've been trying to combat that by putting things in there that maybe I'm okay with them eating rather than my loofah. And right there, you can kind of see it, is my sweet potato. It wasn't really doing much, and as you can see, the roly-polies next to it. It wasn't doing much, so I just put it in the ground and we'll see what actually happens. The garlic is looking phenomenal. It is so tall right now. It's probably 3 feet at this point in some sections. Behind it, I have some sweet peas, and not the flower, the actual like sugar peas and snow peas. And then I'll take you to the other side to show you the bok choy, but I'll also quickly show you. We have this bed right here, which over there is mostly lettuce. We also have some radishes, but okay, here's the deal. I think I was fighting roly-polies here as well, so not a lot of my radishes made it. So between the cat and the roly-poly, because the cat used to like to dig in this bed too, the radishes did not do very well, so I planted some basil in here just to see what happens. And then, like I said, this is the lettuce. There's a volunteer spinach that's kind of starting to get drowned out right about there. The pine berries have gone nuts. I haven't found any berries yet, but the foliage looks very good. Take you over to Fred's corner, if I can get there without tripping over pine berries. These are all of the dwarf Fred varieties. I'm really excited to see what these guys do. And I am trying out an Oya for the first time because this is the only container that doesn't get hit by my watering system. And so if I get lazy and rely on the watering system for most of the garden, I tend to forget things like this that aren't on the watering system. So I'm going to try that Oya to see if that helps. Back around here is my second peach tree, which is usually the peach tree that does the best. But I have a whole bunch of water shoots that I need to cut off, and for some reason it's not leafing out completely. Not sure if it was just the weird winter we had, because I didn't even get peach blossoms. So I highly doubt I'll get any fruit this year. I'll take you around. And as you can see, it's planted up with chives and strawberries like the other one is. It's just, they're not as massive, but the tree is bigger. I mean, I don't understand what's going on with this poor tree. I'm hoping, because it's got these little, I don't know if you can see that. It's got buds, but they're not opening. So we'll find out if I need to do some hard pruning on this tree. In the ground with my shadow, hello! I have 2 different types of zucchini started. We've got the Magda and the Safari. And then lastly, we have the blueberry plants. This one is new this year, and then the other two, one of them I've had for 3 years and the other one is 2 years. So I'm trying to get those established, but that is pretty much the garden so far. I think the only thing I didn't touch on was the honeyberry bushes right here. I have 2 I've had for about 3 years, and then I planted this one and this one this year because I need them to cross-pollinate, so we'll see what happens with those. I do need to trim these guys though. They're going a little bit crazy. But that is the garden so far in the middle of May. So she isn't crazy full as of right now, except for, ooh, I forgot to show you the bok choy. Hold on, let me show you the bok choy. Can't believe I almost forgot this, but in the back here we've got the bok choy. This variety right here has already gone to seed. This variety I'm hoping to harvest off of soon because they are looking good. And then this variety has gone to seed as well. I don't know if it's the placement or the variety, but I might actually get some bok choy this year, so woohoo, win! Okay, now we're actually done with the garden tour. And as I was saying, as you can see, it's not completely filled in yet except for some of those spring sections. It's gonna get full and I'm super excited about it. If you want to see this garden slowly fill out, I usually do these tours about once a week because I'm crazy and I just like to have a record of how all of this changes each week. And if you would like to see that as well, subscribe down below, hit the bell, do all the things to get all of the notifications. I do have a Instagram and Threads account where I usually update on my harvest over there. I usually take pictures of some of the things I find fascinating, so you can follow me over there as well if you would like. No pressure. With that being said, there are a few things I need to water because we don't have our system on yet, so I'm gonna go do that. I do hope I will see you guys again in another video, and I heart you beautiful faces. Bye.